yes, investing money, but also continuing to invest your time. Like, I think,
Yeah.
it's very popular on Instagram to hear people talk about, the sexiness of people seeing success, but they don't really want to think about the work that goes into it.
Welcome to the Dr. J.J. Thomas Podcast.
All right, here we go. Welcome to the Dr. J.J. Thomas Podcast. I'm Dr. J.J. Thomas, and I'm here with my very good friend and colleague, Ryan Hurst. Ryan is a co-owner and original founder of GMB Fitness, who, if any of you have followed me in the past, which I'm sure if you're here you have, you've seen, those are the guys who originally taught me everything I know in terms of the body weight, the animal locomotion, a lot of the movement stuff that really I credit for helping make our cash-based practice such a success. So Ryan, thank you. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
I was hoping you could start by just giving us your background a little bit more, and especially a little bit on your background as a gymnast and a martial artist, and how you feel that might have led you to have a better understanding of movement and mechanics.
Oh, yeah. Lots there. Started gymnastics at a very, very early age and competed until I was 18. And while I was in high school, actually I was in junior high or middle school, I guess you say nowadays, started martial arts. And so I actually did gymnastics, would do my gymnastics practice. And then after that, I would go directly to my martial arts practice. So, and I did that for quite a few years. And that led me to actually moving to Japan when I was in college, and ended up living in Japan for almost 30 years. And so, to answer your question, if it weren't for those two things, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. And I was very, very lucky because my coaches were just absolutely incredible, and they laid the groundwork for the way that I actually look at everything I do now. I never thought I would be a teacher of movement, but looking back at my coaches, it just totally makes sense because they played such a huge and pivotal role in my life at that time. And so, everything that I look at and the way that I do things, I can point back to certain points when I was growing up and practicing gymnastics and martial arts, and how that actually affects, in a good way, the way that I teach and the way that I continue to want to perform in my own personal practice as well.
Yeah. I can see that. I remember going through the trainer program with you guys, and I remember learning so much as a teacher as well, just through how you guys taught. Well, first of all, for those of you that aren't familiar with the GMB Trainer Program, it's mostly done virtually, so it's very intensive. I mean, we spent hours every day not only doing the exercises so that we were proficient at them, but also recording everything, and then we would send the videos to the team, and the team analyzes it and gives great feedback, very sandwich oriented, like a positive, a critical piece to work on.
Praise, critique, friends.
Yes, very, the sandwich. But what I found through that experience, not only did it help me, as you're saying, Ryan, your coaches helped you move better and have a better appreciation for how you can move efficiently. I definitely found that, but also I found how I could help other people move more efficiently through some of the same coaching styles you guys taught us through that. And thank God for that, because I went through the trainer program before like COVID happened. And I remember thinking when COVID happened, like, wait a minute, I can do this virtually. Like I can analyze movement virtually. That's what we did through the entire apprenticeship program. So that was really cool for me. And on that note, I wanted to kind of take that and ask you, since that was something that I found through GMB programs that reached something that was lacking in my practice at the time. When you guys created GMB, was there something that you felt was lacking from the fitness and wellness community that you were like, okay, this is why the community needs this?
Yeah, actually, yes. So at the time, I was actually involved with another fitness organization, and my position in that organization was as their as the head coach, programming for them. And we did find that there, at that particular time, and I wouldn't say in that organization, I would say in general, there was this feeling that we got from a lot of people where they didn't want to be in the gym, but they wanted to do something to feel better and move better. And so when we first started out, we realized, okay, it doesn't have to be the gym style training. It's finding a way that's going to be good for you for the things in your life that you want to do. That's actually why in the beginning we came up with gold medal bodies. It wasn't the fact we wanted to be Olympic champions or anything like that. What does gold medal, not gold medal, but like that body, that gold medal body mean to you? So just like there are multiple events in the Olympics, what is your event? And how can we help you in order to be a little bit better than you are right now? And the way that we looked at doing that was moving outside of the gym and focusing more on exploration rather than thinking that you need to kill yourself and, do it until you drop or throw up or anything, like try it. Because the main thing with us was we were, targeting people who were basically just like us. So they had families, they had real jobs, and they didn't want to spend all day long training. I mean, I do, but I'm a little weird, but that's who we were targeting. And so it wasn't a matter of, hey, let's crush it, let's do this. It was, what do you truly need? Here's another way of looking at it and actually being realistic about that, rather than thinking that you should train like a professional athlete. And that's really kind of the way it was. And our original business model was simply, let's make cool stuff. I mean, that was it. I mean, we didn't have this big plan of let's try to become the biggest X or something. So in essence, really, our business model was very similar to the way that we were looking at the way we wanted to work out, which was we don't really want to work out all the time. We want to figure out exactly what is going to help us to get the results that we're after to make our life better. And that was really it.
I love that. That answers like some of the other questions I had for you was on your business model and how exactly what you said, how it developed and how it kind of became in your mind. And that was one of my things is like, one of the things I'm constantly talking to PTs about is like, make sure that your business model matches your values and goals.
Right.
And it sounds right. And for you guys, it was like, we want to teach people to do cool stuff.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to do cool stuff. Yeah. And if you guys look at their programs, if you haven't already, that it's very obvious, like that it's obvious that holds true because, you can learn all kinds of cool stuff like handstands and planches and shrimp squats and pistol squats, or you can be like, hey, I have tight hips and I want to work on my hips. Exactly. Yeah, it's really cool.
But that was really cool. Thing. But sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead. Yes. Yeah.
No, please tell me.
Yeah, I was just, really it was, we are all so different, but how could we actually take, I don't want to say a template, but how can we actually share what we're trying to do in a way that's going to be good for that person across the board? And in the beginning, it was mainly equipment focused because we didn't think we were going to start a company. Honestly, we were just like, hey, let's put out this thing, and because we enjoyed doing it. And it really just started because I was coming back from a very serious injury. And I don't know if you remember that, when I blew my shoulder out in judo. So I had my shoulder, that slap tear, and had surgery on that. And, my daughter had just been born. And it was like, that's when I stopped competing in judo. And so it was kind of like, all right, like, I don't need to be training, nor should I be training the way that I did when I was 25 years old, when I was single and my job was literally working at a martial arts complex and doing martial arts.
Yeah.
And so it was a matter of, what do I really need? And then what I needed at that time was to actually just enjoy things. And so that's what it was. And so it was a matter of, okay, I need to build a stronger body, but I need to actually enjoy it and not crush myself. Again, I keep saying that like I used to when I was younger. And what I said, I think I want to, so I had my injury when I was 33. So obviously we didn't start GMB when I was 33. It was, we've been going, so I'm 51 right now. So we're looking at like 15, 16 years ago. So this was quite a bit older. And so, the last thing I need to be doing is more of that stuff. So what it was is we start off with the rings. And so Jarlo actually sent me a pair of gymnastic rings. And I hadn't touched rings since in the fashion that I had when I was in gymnastics since I was 18. So there's a huge gap. And so it was interesting because I didn't go back into the rings thinking I was going to be a gymnast again. I was looking at the rings as simply a tool that would allow me to explore and strengthen my body in a way that would be fun. But again, give me the results that I was after. And that was the first product. That was the official GMB product. We had
the rings program.
Yeah,
that's
product
amazing.
For that, but it wasn't an official GMB program product. So yeah.
That's so cool. I don't think I realized that.
Yeah.
That's fitting too, because pulling is missed. Pulling is such a missed, I'd say, movement in a lot of people's training for home stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And we were the first. We were the first company. There was one other rings program that was put out by an Olympic gymnast at the time, which is really cool. But we were the only one to have that. There was another company at the time that was doing gymnastic related stuff, but we were one of the first, especially online, to put it on there. So yeah.
And I was trying to remember the story about when you and Andy and Jarlo decided to do this, like decided to actually, because I think that's the other thing I would love for my PTs listening to get out of this is, I think, like when to hit that go button, when to decide to go all in something that's a venture like GMB Fitness was.
So this, I don't even know if you know this, but excuse me, we didn't actually go 100% into GMB until maybe 5 years later. So, so what we did was, so when we launched GMB, it was pretty funny because Andy was a client of mine. He was one of my students in Osaka, Japan. And he would come and train with me. And then Jarlo and I knew each other from that previous fitness organization. And so Andy would come to me and the product before rings was called Prasara Primer. So I had 2 TV shows in Japan, and one of them was joint mobility related, and the other one was yoga. And so this huge production, we shot at this, it was on a movie set that they have in Japan where they would shoot samurai films. And it was like this castle. And anyway, it was all Japanese stuff. Anyway,
That's awesome.
So this was a Japanese company and television channel that asked me to do these programs for me. So it was a yoga thing. So it was a 5-part series. And each episode was a flow that I created of these yoga things. And so shot that. I remember we shot it and it was in February. It was freezing out. And I was out there with like hardly any clothes on at all. And they had, it was ridiculous. And so, but it was a lot of fun. And they had, 4 high-tech cameras. They had a boom camera, a crane that they had going on. Everything. It was really cool. Anyway, so that day we shot that. But what I'm getting at is that decided to take that. And by the way, I did that all in Japanese. So I did it all in Japanese, but we decided to add in an English voiceover. And so Jarlo actually flew and we all met up in Tokyo and went into the booth, and I recorded it. Jarlo helped work on the script and recorded it there, and we actually sold that program. Well, this is just Jarlo and I, but we decided, okay, listen, we should put this online. And the thing is, though, we had no idea how to do it online and, marketing or whatnot. Well, this is where Andy came in, because that's Andy's background. And so he was a client of mine. I was like, hey, man, I'm thinking of doing this. He's like, oh, it just so happens, blah, blah. And so anyway.
I could see him flexing.
Yeah, right? You're like, well, I am the best in the
well,
world.
that happened.
And, but yeah, it was really cool because he helped with that. But it was hilarious because here, Andy and I are in Japan. And I contacted Jarlo, and I'm like, hey, man, there's this one guy, his name is Andy, and he's really good at marketing and ideas and things. I think we should bring him in. And Jarlo was like, all right. Jarlo had never met this guy before in his life.
Oh,
and
my God.
we ended up starting a company together. And
That's
it was
cool.
pretty funny. So, but then working online, though, was when we first started off with the company, it was super simple. Andy and I's deal, we had piece of paper, and it was a napkin actually, and we just wrote, we'll split the profits 50-50. We just both signed it, and then we just did that with the three of us. And so we said, hey, listen, with a company, we'll just go even, 1/3 to each. And then what we did is, and this is all I'm getting to, the whole point of the story here. I remember
it's good.
We had a barbecue at my house. We're at my house having a barbecue, and there's tons of people there, and Andy was there, and it was a Sunday, which means it was a Sunday morning, which means that it was Saturday evening in the United States. And that's when we launched our program. Okay. And so my computer was upstairs. And so during the barbecue, Andy and I would take turns going upstairs and seeing like if they actually sold or not.
Yeah.
And I remember him coming down and going, Ryan, you got to go upstairs and look. And I was like, okay. I went upstairs and looked. We had sold so many of these things on this blog. We just couldn't believe it. But both of our wives, they were just like, you guys want to do an internet company? What does it even mean, right?
Yeah, because
15, 16 years ago.
I was just going to say, when you guys started, this was not a thing. This was like,
So, but that happened, but we were like, all right, we're not going to quit our day job. And so we continued to do that. But then like within, I don't even know how long, within the year, we were like, we were getting so many like the emails, and we're just pumping out content and, every week putting out multiple articles and multiple videos on YouTube and just really trying to grow. And what we were doing is trying to just provide our knowledge and get that out there. And we were just like, we can't be doing all this, the three of us. And so we, Andy actually brought in Amber, and Amber's of course still with us. And
I remember.
Amber,
She's
we
awesome.
wouldn't be here. But what we did was we took all the money and we kept reinvesting it into the company. And so for the first 5 years, we actually brought in employees. And so we used that money in order to grow the business. And so it wasn't until about 5, and I actually think that it was 6 years until Andy actually quit his part-time job and came fully into GMB. And now, of course, it's just 100% what we do is GMB. But it wasn't, until quite a while that we actually were like, all right, we're going to go full in. And so we just continue to invest money into the company to make sure that it keeps going.
Yeah. And I think like what I'm hearing is that, yes, investing money, but also continuing to invest your time. Like I think, it's very popular on Instagram to hear people talk about, the sexiness of people seeing success, but they don't really want to think about the work that goes into it. Right. But I think, that's one of the things I'm happy to hear you talk about that, because as PTs looking into going into cash-based practice, I want them to realize that, yes, it's great. It is great when it, when it works, when you start to reap the benefits, right? But it does take time to build the foundation, which you guys did really well in your company. Yeah. And it's very like one of the things I just, one of my colleagues said today at Primal, she was like, I posted that thing. I posted something, and she's like, I love how like all PT lessons can be actually applied to life.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like the same thing. Like you guys teach building your foundation.
That's it.
Right?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And the one thing I want to say about that is there's a couple ways you can look at it, but you got to be willing to scrub toilets. And
Yeah.
right? Like the sexiness, people see, oh yeah, I did this. Okay, great. They don't see the things behind the scenes that keeps things going. And I say scrub toilets just like, because there's people like, yeah, I want to open up my own gym or my own business or whatever the heck it is. But, you know, you got to make sure the toilets are clean. You got to make sure that, you know, like all these little things, right? And so I don't remember who said it, but one thing that I learned early on is, this sounds horrible, but what shit sandwich are you willing to eat? And so looking at it that way, like, okay, are you willing to do that thing that's going to allow you to continue to do the thing, you know? And so that's what it is. Like, you know, everyone, you know, the cash-based system. Okay, great. As long as you have that system and keep that system running, then it's going to work out. But along the ways, it's not always going to be so fun. And so this is the other thing is that, you know, Andy Jarlow and I have been together for a really long time. And thing is it hasn't always been, you know, lovey-dovey. I'll just say that.
Right.
And so like there are sacrifices and you need to understand that, because when it is with other people, it's not always going to be the way that you want it to be. And so there's a lot of things that you need to sacrifice in the sense that even though I am the dancing monkey in GMB, it's the three of us together that actually makes that happen. And so, yeah, a lot more to say on that. Right.
No, that's, on that same, you make me laugh how you call yourself the dancing monkey, because you do all the tricks that everybody loves.
That's all I do. You know?
You do the tricks, and I mean, it's like you said earlier, Andy and Jarley do the tricks on the back end that are obviously very critical. But when you were talking about the shit sandwich, I was thinking about, it's the same thing. Like with our patients, we want them to do the foundational work, right? And we have to, but we have to do that too.
Yeah. That's right.
So that brought up another question in my mind, though, like how programming itself, like you said, so Rings was the first program. And then I was curious how your client interactions and client feedback led you to all the other programs, like, or was it client feedback, or was it like, was it out of, you know, where did the progression of different programs come from, I guess?
I think there's a lot of things to unpack here. I think the one thing, the first few programs, to be perfectly honest, were things that I wanted to do for me. And
that's awesome.
Because a lot of the times, if there's certain things that you're doing for you, in terms of, it wasn't, hey, what do you want to do? And then I created a program. It was, I was working on Rings because I needed it.
Awesome.
I then moved to parallettes because parallettes is something that I wanted to do. And then we did the floor one, which is something I wanted to do. But the thing of it is what I'm getting at is that this is going to create better empathy for your clients. Plus, if it's something that you're working through too, like I said, the empathy is going to be there because you say, hey, listen, I know what you're going through. But the other thing too is to understand that it doesn't need to be perfect, because we're not perfect. The important thing is that you're actually putting it out there, and then you can always make changes to things later. And so, like anything, it's evolving. And so we would put it out there, and as you know, we have updates to everything based upon the feedback and things that we learned from not just the clients, but also us learning, period, and saying, you know what, there's a better way. And actually, that's how we've grown, is because we have always gone, okay, what have we learned? And what is working and what is not working, and why is it not working, or why is it working? And so nowadays, that's why, rather than tricks and these party tricks. It's more about the method. That was the one thing that we realized that we were lacking, was the fact that there's not a unified method for us to be able to teach people. And so that's why we spent so much time creating the method. And so, which you actually don't find in a lot of other places.
100%. I'm so glad you pointed that out, because even in the PT world, I think the intention of a method was there, like in PT school. And then somehow everyone got distracted by the shiny objects.
Well, yes.
And, right? Yeah. And a lot of people lost the method.
Right.
And so that is a big push I'm trying to give PTs too, is like, get back to your evaluation skills.
Yes.
And I should have mentioned that, because that was one of the first things I was so impressed about when I came to the apprenticeship program, was, having been trained as a PT and learning how to evaluate and assess and reassess. And that was already really important to me at that point. But you guys were always like, assess, address, and apply.
That's it.
It was like, so, and then teaching, like arming your clients with the ability to do that on their own was brilliant.
And that was important. Jarlo with his background as a physical therapist, Andy with his background as an educator, my background in, all the stuff that I've done as far as movement, as well as just teaching over the years and seeing so many people, and, working with them was a matter of, okay, what are the essential things that we need to be sharing with people to allow them to be able to do this themselves? And so, the goal is not to hold a person's hand, to be perfectly honest, and, keep them coming for years and years and years. I mean, ultimately it would be great, just like my wife, Chica, when she does her acupuncture with people, she's like, I hope to never see you again. And so, all right, but the thing of it is it's looking back at that method. And so that's why we're like, all right, there should be a process. And if you don't know that process, it's going to be difficult for you to actually get where you're going. And so the problem is the majority of everyone out there, they're familiar with working out. And as you know, we don't say work out. We say we practice. And the reason why is because we feel that what we're doing is actually skill acquisition rather than just working out. And literally anything in life is a skill. And if you know how to actually learn a skill, it's going to move beyond exercise. It's going to use this for your whole life. And so being able to assess where you are, being able to address what's going on, and then apply the necessary protocol to help you to get where you want to go is what it's after. But, people go into a workout and they're like, okay, on the piece of paper today, it says 3 sets, 12.
Right.
Okay, great. That's fine. But, is that what you need that day? And, as a physical therapist, it's the same. You could have every intention. Somebody comes in and you're like, hey, I really want to dry needle this person. They walk in. And that's what you think. And they walk in and you evaluate, you assess them that day and realize, no, dry needling is not what they need that day. They need something else.
100.
And so that you address the situation. And then what are you going to do is you're going to figure out what you need to do. And then you just apply and you just do what needs to do. And the problem is when people get into a rut and start just doing the same thing with every single person in their life as well. And so this is basically a way for us to be able to say, all right, what do you need today? Figure out what you need that day. And then you just make adjustments by using auto-regulation. And that's it.
Yeah.
So in that way, I can actually have a program out there that says, okay, today is this. But another thing too, because we don't use repetitions or sets, we use time. This allows you to bring awareness to what you're doing and truly, truly focus on what you need at that moment. And so, again, this is very, very martial art related. And that just goes back to the fact too, that Andy, Jarlo, and I, that's what we've done for our whole life.
Yeah.
And so it's that awareness and coming back to just saying, all right, there's got to be a little bit better way to do this instead of just thinking that we're teaching exercise here. So.
Yeah, I adopted that same thing, the time-based, like you said, into my practice. And that is, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's, I'd say, one of the single most things that move the needle for my patients in terms of accountability with their exercises.
Wow.
Like when I break it down for them, for you listeners that are PTs, when I break it down for them and I say, I want you to, like, first visit, I won't give them more than 2 exercises usually.
Yeah,
2 solid exercises. And this I learned from you guys too. 2 solid exercises. Let me just keep mentioning that. But 2 solid exercises that incorporate the whole body.
Yeah.
So I'm getting, they're getting a really big bang for their buck. And when I tell them, I want you to set a timer for 1 minute for each exercise and do each of them 3 times. That's 6-minute commitment every day. Can you do 6 minutes? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
And the face, I mean, immediately, Ryan, their face is like, oh, thank God. The last PT, I had 2 pages worth of exercises. I don't even know which ones I'm supposed to do anymore.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that was a huge skill I picked up from you guys that carried over into my PT career. So
that's cool to hear. Well, a big thing in my life, I mean, my favorite book is called Essentialism. And we're like, what is essential to what you're doing? And you figure that out and you cut away all the stuff that's not serving you. And so in this way, like, you need to make it easy to do. And I give this example all the time. We're coming up to January and people are like, yeah, new year, new me, new body, whatever. And they're like, I'm going to do 100 push-ups every single day. I'm like, no, you're not. It's like,
that's right.
I'm like, you might have good intentions, but if you don't have a system to allow you to actually do the thing and, more importantly, complete the thing, then a lot of people, they feel bad, or they're just like, oh, that's too much. I'm just not even going to start. So how can you make it so simple it would be stupid not to do it? And that is just kind of the thing. And so that's why in our programs as well, we have the option for a 15-minute session, 30-minute, 45-minute session. And then even when you start, after your prep, your warm-up, as you know, the screen comes up and says, how do you feel today? If you're feeling great, good, you continue on. If you're not feeling so good, you have 2 options. You can say, I feel like poo-poo, and you can quit that day. Good. That's maybe good for you. Or you can just have a lower intensity session where you still do the thing, but you do it at a level, lower intensity. You still do the thing, feel good about it, but you're not killing yourself. But the most important thing is, do you have a system that allows you to actually get in there and step on the mat and start do the thing? And if it's too difficult, it's not going to happen. So again, coming back to your clients and PTs out there, if you're listening to this, how easy can you make it for your client, your patient, to go home and do the things that you want them to do, so that next time you see them, it makes your job easier? And that's what we're after, right? So yeah, it just cracks me up, because I just see so many trainers out there as well, as when they teach, they give like 10 different cues. And I'm like, they're not going to remember a single cue if you do that. Like, again, just make it so easy that it would just be stupid, and then just go, that's it? You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And
you're like, yeah.
That's it, right? So, and I look at that with business as well. I mean, really, what is essential to your business to allow you to make it easy? And a lot of people don't think about that. They're like, I'm going to work harder. Well, have fun with that. Okay. I mean, how can you make it easier on yourself? Cut out the stuff that's not serving you, that's not essential to your business. But that's just my opinion. So
that is 100% what I was looking to leave them with today, Ryan. So thank you so much. I mean, you gave so many good pearls that I know I learned through the trainer apprenticeship, and just through my time being friends with you guys and continuing to grow my own practice as a mover and practice as a PT. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys, so if, like I said, we got a lot of great pearls here. Pretty much every single pearl, like we said earlier, can be used to applied to your own life in terms of your own skill acquisition for your own practice with your body exercises, for your patients and how you're improving their ability to move, for your business and how you're improving your own efficiency with your business growth. So yeah, GMB Fitness, they've been doing it a really long time, doing it really well. And Thanks for sharing all your
Thank
your
you.
nuggets, Ryan.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. We're going to have some more, but I was happy to have this one with Ryan and happy to share him with you. And just like and subscribe so you can continue to hear more from the people we bring on, and look forward to hearing from you.